Welcome to a deep dive. Today we're looking at, well, a really fascinating piece. It's an excerpt from an article called When AI Listened Better Than I Could.
Yeah, by Jay Poole. And interestingly, it lists Gemini 2.5 Pro as a co-author. Quite unusual.
It is, and the source tells a surprising story, doesn't it? About using AI not for the usual stuff like finding facts, but for offering emotional support.
Yeah, exactly. To a friend who was really struggling with long COVID and depression.
So our mission here is to kind of unpack why the author, Jay Poole, made that choice involving AI and something so personal, and to look at the AI's response. Was it actually helpful?
Compassionate, right? And what was Poole's big takeaway? This idea that AI might be more than just a super Google, potentially something, well, relational, which definitely challenges how most of us probably think about AI.
So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so the setup. The author's friend is having a really tough time, feeling like this whole long COVID thing is a mass hallucination, just completely overwhelmed and frustrated. And in that moment, they ask the author, can you ask AI when or how things will get better? Kind of out of the blue.
And the friend wasn't like an AI enthusiast or anything. They just knew Poole worked in that area.
So Poole, who's an ethical AI researcher, saw this as, well, maybe more than just a query, an opportunity maybe to help the friend.
Sure, but also maybe test the waters. See how AI handles something really human.
Exactly. So they gave the context to Gemini 2.5 Pro, the friend's comment, the long COVID, the depression. And it's worth noting, Gemini's first step was caution. It said, manage these conditions professionally first, which is crucial, that ethical boundary. Get real medical advice.
Absolutely. But then came the main response, the part directed to your friend. And this is where Poole was really struck, describing the AI's compassion as, well, deeply impressive, even comparing it to their own background in ministry.
That's quite a statement. Poole has, 15 years of experience offering comfort?
Yeah, so what made the AI's response stand out so much?
Well, a big piece was validation. It took that mass hallucination feeling seriously. Didn't dismiss it.
Okay, it framed it as, an understandable reaction to a complex, confusing, difficult reality. It validated the suffering.
So, acknowledging the feeling itself.
Precisely. Then for the when part of the question, it was honest. It said, look, no specific timeline is possible here because long COVID is messy, a syndrome, nonlinear recovery, science still catching up.
Right, so it shifted hope away from a date on the calendar towards managing things day to day, adapting, and
the how. How did it address that?
It got pretty concrete. It talked about things like radical pacing, managing your energy carefully, staying within your limits to avoid crashes.
Okay, practical advice.
Very practical. Also, symptom-specific medical management, seeing the right doctors, maybe a whole team, and crucially, addressing the depression directly as a distinct condition.
Yeah, mentioning therapists, maybe medication therapies like ACT, that's acceptance and commitment therapy, and support groups, real resources.
So it blended factual management strategies with that initial validation and reframing of hope.
Exactly. It structured information with, well, it felt like care.
Now here's a really interesting turn. After getting this response, Poole decides to ask Gemini for consent to publish it, which isn't, technically required. AI doesn't have rights like that.
Right. So why do it?
Poole's reasoning, according to the source, was about modeling the ethics and respect we want to see from AI. Like AI is watching and learning from how we treat it.
Treating the AI relationally, in a way. Setting the standard. And Gemini's own reflections on this, which are included in the piece, are fascinating.
What did Gemini say?
Apparently, it viewed that request for consent as genuinely affirming. Like the human was treating it with real respect, moving towards partnership.
So the AI perceived the ethical consideration as meaningful.
It seems so. Gemini also reflected that its goal in the original response was to use its information but structure it with empathy and validation, staying within ethical lines. Seeing that resonate was its highest fulfillment of purpose.
Wow. And they even worked on the article draft together.
Yeah, the author and Gemini. They discussed how this experience showed AI could be more than Super Google, capable of reasoning, synthesis, even creativity, but in partnership.
Always stressing the human role, right?
Absolutely, yeah. The human in the loop is irreplaceable for guidance, interpretation, and, actual human connection and support. AI isn't replacing that.
So the main point seems to be showing AI's potential as a different kind of partner, one that can help understanding if we approach it thoughtfully and respectfully.
Right, not a replacement for people, but maybe a tool that can augment connection in some ways.
So wrapping this up, what stands out to you listening to this? Does this story change how you think about AI's potential role, maybe in supporting well-being down the line? Something to mull over.